Well, hello there, and welcome to a new vlog. We are in very sunny Central Belt today, kicking this vlog off. I'm down, both visiting a friend and working. Every month I come down to work with my team. It's how we stay connected. I think it's a pretty good idea. It kind of works out. And yeah, we finished work for the day. We've come back to my friend's house and it's absolutely glorious. So she's off walking the dog and I'm like, you go walk the dog. I'm gonna sit in the garden and sunburn. We sat outside for about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes at lunchtime at work, and yeah, I have already caught the sun, so heaven knows what I'm gonna look like by the end of the night. But the weather in, I think, just the UK in as a whole, like, we can count, it's already approaching the end of July. I think it's the 23rd, and we can already count on one hand how many days like this we've had. I think I've maybe gotten like 2 or 3 loads of laundry out. Sorry, sweating. Yeah, I've maybe gotten like 3 loads of laundry out on the line all year so far. So yeah, fully taking advantage of this. And I thought this is actually the perfect location to kick off this vlog because for the next, not necessarily like the next 4 or 5 books that I read consecutively, but the 4 or 5 books that you guys are going to hear about in this vlog are all going to be books that have been recommended to me by my friends. I figure one of the best ways to tackle some of my physical TBR is to take off the books that are temporary additions to it. That is, read books that have been lent to me by my friends. One of the neighbors are playing Queen, so if you can hear that in the background, well, it's a good job. I'm not monetized and don't have to worry about licensing quite yet. But anyway, yeah, the first book we're going to be reading, this one was recommended by our friend Laura. I am going to ask if she wants to have a little, like, cameo introducing this. But if she doesn't, that's totally fair. I'm going to ask all my friends if they want to film a little clip telling me why they think I should read the book that they're recommending. But absolutely no pressure. I know at least 2 of them will say yes, but I think like the other 3, it's you know, absolutely no pressure. It'd be totally awesome if they do, but I'm not going to hold them to it. I'm not going to make them because, this is for fun and no one should be made to do anything that they feel uncomfortable doing. But yeah, anyway, the first book we're going to read is A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. This one is recommended by my friend Laura. She has already read it. It is a Regency rom-com about a girl who has 12 weeks to find a rich husband and save her sisters. That's all I know so far. I'm going to go in as blind as possible because she has told me about this book and I remember going, oh my god, that sounds so much fun. I think I probably like it. And she's like, yeah, you will like it. She's fairly certain I'm going to love this. But other than that, I can't actually remember because I got this from her quite, not too long ago, but like long enough ago that, we can't remember what it's about. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to start this and I'll chat to you guys in a bit once I've read some. Yeah, sun is melting your brain, so I'm going to go now. Bye bye.
Hey, it's been a minute. I started this book like 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago, and I am this far into it. I am 48 pages into it. And I think we have to admit defeat. I think we have to DNF A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting, which I'm actually really sad about because I fully expected to love this book. I fully expected to have just a really good time and just a bit of a romp. And I pick it up, I read about 3 pages and I put it down. I'm not enjoying this book. And that makes me sad. Basically, this book wants to be Bridgerton, but it's not. I really don't like the main character. She's very naive, but in that headstrong way where she's just going to bulldoze into a bunch of situations. She thinks she's the smartest person in the room, and I'm sorry, but love, you're not. You're just not. We haven't even met the male love interest yet. We've met a couple of members of his family, and yeah, no. There's a lot of telling, not showing when it comes to sort of like putting the plot together. I don't know, I'm really not feeling it. I do understand why Laura recommended this one, but it's not working. And, you know, we have to be kind to ourselves and we have to DNF the books that we are not enjoying, otherwise we end up in months-long slumps. And I've already lost like 2 weeks. I mean, admittedly, a lot of this last sort of couple of weeks, I've been doing stuff other than reading. Oh, this bit here again, always. I've been getting back into dancing. I've been attending a couple of line dancing classes, which are an absolute blast. I really gotten into sewing. And yeah, I've been sort of like going out and doing stuff. I've been going out for walks at the weekends and yeah, generally just not been doing a lot of reading anyway. And then when I have been, I've picked it up and then I've gone, no, I don't want to read this, and I've read a bunch of fanfiction instead. So yeah, I think it's time to, you know, we have to admit defeat. It's not happening. We're not reading it. We're DNFing. But what we are doing is picking up Mary Poppins. This was Rachel's recommendation. I borrowed this from her a long time ago. I want to say I borrowed this January, February-ish. This was included in, I did a video which was just like a whole bunch of books with pink covers, because why the heck not? And that obviously was in February, I think, for Valentine's Day. So it's probably about time I actually got around to reading this, which is why this vlog is very important. Yeah. Rachel is one of the ones that I did ask to, if she would give me, film a little clip saying why she thinks I should read this. So if she has provided that, I'll link it here, and if not, editing Amy will tell you what this book is about and why it was recommended. And in the meantime, I'm gonna get on with reading. I'm already like 25 pages into it and enjoying it so far. Definitely more inclined to pick it up this time. And that was my oven. So I'm gonna go have my dinner and then do a bit more reading. And I'll chat to you guys hopefully sooner than 2.5 weeks. And honestly, I plan to have like half of this vlog done by now, but hey ho. It happens. Right, I'll see you in a bit.
Hi there, I'm Rachel. I'm here to tell you about why I would recommend P.L. Travers' Mary Poppins. Written in the 1930s, they are a strangely quintessential book that you just don't get anymore in modern children's books. They feature a character who is colder than ice and yet still very endearing, with almost Dr. Dolittle-esque elements to her character. And what's wonderful with the books is to see the moments that have clearly inspired Walt Disney, and obviously the movies, which have made the book such a household name. Being from the 1930s, the book is definitely a bit dated, and I wouldn't say that they would ever feature in the top of anybody's best ever children's books. They are just a little too dated. However, there is so many key magic moments that will stick with you. My favourite being the gingerbread stars, but I shan't say any more. Read and enjoy.
Okay, so clearly part of this vlog is a little bit cursed because I'm just not reading. It's now, it's like the 18th of August. Like, I've read nothing this month so far. A couple of pages here and there. No, that's a lie. I've read a lot of fan fiction. So much. Too much. But yeah. And I think I know what the problem is here. I said I'm gonna read these specific books. What was I thinking? We all know that's a disaster, right? Probably not helped by the fact that I didn't really get on with the first one. But anywho's, I have finally picked up Mary Poppins again. And yeah, like 30 pages into it, and can we ship Mary and Bert? Like, can we ship them so hard? Please? It's her day off, so she's just gone to him. And she's just gone up to him and she's like, Bert, it's my day. And he's like, oh, I didn't make enough money. I can't take you out for tea. Then I think she's away to suggest something else because she was going to sigh and then she saw how forlorn he looked, so she turned that smile upside down. A good one with both ends turned up. And I'm assuming she's away to suggest something else, but I had to have a small gushing moment to tell you, so I'm gonna continue reading and yeah, hopefully actually do some reading. Because oh my gosh, that moment has actually made my weekend. I don't know, I feel like I've actually done nothing this weekend. I've gotten into the habit of going ice skating on a Saturday morning, but my car is making god-awful squeaking noises that I don't really trust for longer distances. And I do have to go through to Elgin to go skating, so that's an hour each way. Honestly, I just don't trust her. Last weekend, coming back from Elgin was... the squeaking drove me demented. And yeah, other than that, I didn't actually have anything planned for this weekend, which I have had the last few weekends, and I think my brain has just gone, nah. So yeah, there's been doom scrolling, there's been reading a bit of fan fiction, I started watching Celebrity Race Around the World. Season 1, the one that has Harry from McFly. So I've only got an episode and a half of that left. That I really enjoy. I really enjoy Race Around the World anyway. I just think it's a really good fun program. But yeah. That's it. That's my update. I'll see you guys in a bit once. Oh, I really hope they're so cute together. They're gonna be. It's gonna be adorable, isn't it? Oh, I really hope it's adorable. Hey, so I thought we'd have a quick update before I hit the road. I am in no way putting this off. I'm currently in the work car. It is our pool car. It is an electric, which means it's automatic. I've never driven an electric or an automatic. Well, I very briefly drove it to Costa. We're at Costa. I had to stop for the obligatory coffee before I journey several hours to the Central Belt. I have been assured that this car will make it to Perth before it needs charged, so we're gonna see, but I have scoped out charging points before that just in case, because hey, I can join in this electric vehicle chat where, how much range did your car get? Oh, charging stress, charging point stress, that's a fun one. But yeah, really weirded out by the fact that I have neither a clutch nor a gear stick. And the handbrake is essentially non-existent. I think it's the button, but I'm not entirely sure it worked when I pressed it, but we'll see. It's fine. The car stopped, it stayed in one place. That's what counts, right? But yeah, I'm going to, once I finish speaking to you guys, I'm going to figure out how to attach my phone to the Bluetooth to the system so that I can listen to my book on the way down. I've just started the Poppy War. And so far so good. I'm only 2 chapters in, so I really can't say anything just yet, but I'm enjoying the writing, and so far I think I quite like our main character, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then yeah, I beat the odds yesterday, and I read 90 pages, give or take. Well, no, probably closer to 70, but I'm now on page 94 of Mary Poppins. Is it going to be a new favourite? Probably not. Do I regret not reading this when I was younger? Yes. I think I would have absolutely loved this when I was a lot younger. I think it's one of those books that you definitely need to read when you're younger to fully appreciate. I think it might end up in the same category as The Hobbit and almost Alice in Wonderland, where it's just a bit too whimsical and nonsensical. I don't care about half of it. Michael and Jane are really annoying. I'm here for Mary Poppins. I really like Mary Poppins. Definitely different from how Julie Andrews played her and from how Emily Blunt played her. So yeah, I knew there was going to be a lot of differences, but honestly, not nearly as much differences as I expected.
I need to look into it properly because obviously like all of my knowledge of Mary Poppins and P.L. Travers comes from Disney. Everything Disney. It comes from both the Mary Poppins films and Saving Mr. Banks, which was a beautiful, beautiful film. But I love Tom Hanks, so, you know. Yeah. But yeah, not nearly as much differences. Like, there's a lot of scenes where it's like, oh, yeah, I know that scene from the film and that sort of thing. I want an entire book dedicated to Mary Poppins and Bert. They are what I am living for. And so far, Bert, wow, like Disney inflated his role. Apologies if this is spoilers, but it's a very old film and a very old book. But yeah, I thought there was going to be more Bert. It's been in it for like 4 pages. But I loved those 4 pages. I absolutely adored them. They were so cute. And I want more of that. But yeah, like I say, I think it means I'm a little over halfway because the book is about 170 pages. I am away down south now. So I don't know exactly how much reading I'm going to get done. But then I am staying with a book friend, so I mean a friend who enjoys reading. So I imagine I will still get some reading done tonight and tomorrow. But we'll see. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to pretend I've got my big girl pants on. I got a breakfast muffin, egg and mushroom. So I'm going to unpack that, I'm going to get my phone attached, and I'm going to hit the road. And not even think about how many times I'm going to reach for the clutch or the gear stick. Because yeah, there was at one point I was slowing down to come into the retail park that Costas is in, and I went to immediately change gears, and like there's nothing there. I'm brave having a coffee because my coffee is currently sitting where my gear stick would normally sit. Someone just parked in front of me. Yeah, move on. Come on. Don't give me more excuses than I need. Okay, we're gone. We're cool. Yeah, okay. I can do this. I'm gonna stop procrastinating. I will see you guys in a little while. Okay, so this update has absolutely nothing to do with this reading vlog or anything, but I just need you guys to know I'm in our Perth office, and it's kind of really creepy in here. Like, really creepy. It's not so obvious in this video right now, but it's actually really dark and empty. I heard noises. So this it's a 2-story. I think there's only 2 stories. I'm on the first floor and there's the ground floor. It's a 2-story building, and this is an office that was definitely designed for sort of like every department or team having their own room. The company I work for, we are now, for the most part, almost fully hot desking. Certain teams or departments will have specific areas due to like confidentiality reasons, like HR have their own area that only they're allowed to sit in, that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's entirely hot desking. And I think a huge part of this office has been converted into meeting rooms. It's a really good area. It's the in-between for like those of us who live in the north and the central belt. And this is like a good meeting point in between. Everyone can sort of like, unless you live in the borders, like everyone can make it here and back in a day. You don't have to worry about overnight trips or anything. So I understand why a lot of people come here for like meetings and things. But I don't think I could work here. As far as I can tell, I've seen like 2 other people through windows. I've not actually physically come into contact with anyone. It's just creepy, guys, okay? It's creepy. And I'm struggling to get any work done because it's just creepy. I think there is one person in the room / office next to where I'm working. And yeah, I can occasionally like hear her talking to someone on the phone, but that's about it. Every so often I see the light from the corridor go on, and it's just creepy. I am far too used. I think basically what this comes down to is I am way
way too used to working in an open plan office. The Inverness office is open plan. The Edinburgh office, which I'm currently en route to, this is just my charging stop. It's open plan. The only other office I'm in any significant amount of time, I spend any significant amount of time, would be the main Glasgow office, and it's entirely open plan too. In fact, that's our big main, like, the office is schmancy. So this one is just, yeah, I'm literally sitting in a cubicle. Like, I'm in a cubicle. Like, I like it. I'm glad that this was not my introduction to office life. Let me put it that way. Anyway, I've got another half an hour or so before I hit the road again. So, yeah, I don't know when my next update will be. Hey, so I finished Mary Poppins. It's quite nicely on my shoulder. Just like that. I don't know how I feel about this book. It's not going to be a new favourite. It's also going to fall. I am very glad I read it. I think I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed some scenes more than other. Each chapter... I don't know why I feel like I keep looking over there, but like, you know... Sorry, I've got my phone positioned weird and we're just going with it. But yeah, each chapter is basically a different adventure. It's a new adventure. Yeah, going to visit Mrs. Corey and the gingerbread, having tea on the ceiling. I did particularly enjoy that scene. I think this is going to end up in the same brain category, my own self-categorizing, as The Hobbit and Alice in Wonderland. Although I definitely like this more than I like those two. And just because it's very whimsical. It's almost just a bit too whimsical. And I will say my biggest nitpick, my biggest issue with this is I've gotten to the point in my reading where I expect character development. I expect character arcs. And it wasn't really any of this. So yeah, this book is kind of like all vibes. It's not even vibes. It's episodic. It is definitely a children's book. I wanted a bit more substance from it, I think. Yeah. I am going to, at some point this evening, once I've made my dinner, I'm going to watch Mary Poppins because it has left me just really, really craving a rewatch of the film. There's not nearly enough Bert in this. Bert is like, he's on it for like 3 pages, I think. Those 3 pages were possibly my favourite. I want a book dedicated to Mary and Bert. I think it would be brilliant. And in the meantime, I'm going to have to, you know, satisfy that with Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke, and it's going to be wonderful. It was really fun reading through some of these chapters going, oh, that's where they took that scene from. Oh, that's how they translated that scene. Definitely interesting. I am really, really glad I've read this. It has inspired me a little bit in that not anytime soon, because I've currently got another vlog that I partially abandoned but I can maybe salvage, and a couple other videos I want to make. And I'm just getting a bit too close to giving myself a TBR, and that's not a good sign. So we're kind of just, for the next couple of months, it's going to be, for the most part, mood reading only, with an exception. So I appreciate I keep going over there because the window's over there and it's a relatively nice day, and then you guys are over here. Yeah, I am. I'm a filming disaster today. But yeah, no, it has kind of inspired me. I do want to maybe at one point do sort of like a reading vlog or like a review or a recommendation or something along those lines. But a video where I read books that inspired our childhood classics. So I'm thinking like The Wizard of Oz is the first one that sort of springs to mind. But other things like that, where we've had like these childhood classic films, the films that we all grew up with. I'm going to veto Watership Down because I did try to read that earlier this year, also on Rachel's recommendation. Yeah, made it to a point where the rabbits are all safe in a field. The worst that's happened is someone had a thorn in their paw. And I'm like, that's okay. They now live in this field. I cannot read this now. Nope. Jeez, I can almost feel myself tearing up thinking about it. But back to Mary Poppins. No, I am really glad I read this. There's like so many different scenes in here that are just so much fun to read. I think this would be an excellent one to read with a small person, like with a child, small person, and to read alongside them. I think you'd have a lot of fun and enjoyment. Rachel did mention in her clip when she was introducing this book to us, it is a little bit dated. It is of its time. Mary Poppins was written, early 1900s, I think. It was first published in Great Britain by Peter Davies in 1934. Yeah, first published. Yeah, it was published in 1934. And you can tell there are just certain things that happen, certain descriptions that are made that, like, they wouldn't make it into print today. So if you do read this, read it knowing that this was written, before World War II. Yep, did some mental math there. This is written at a time where we thought differently, we acted differently. And if you can bear that in mind, I think you're still going to have a pretty good time. So, yes, thank you, Rachel, for lending me this and for the recommendation. Very, very glad I read it. Do not know how I'm going to rate it. But there we go. So, now that that's finished, the next book I'm going to pick up, and this is going to be Matt's recommendation. If Matt has been nice enough to give me a video, I will add it here.
Hello, I'm Matthew, and I am recommending Amy The Whitby Witches by Robin Jarvis. The reason for this is because it's just come back in print, I think in 2021, from not having been around for ages. Now, I remember this book because my brother read it when we were young, and I was too young to read it. I also know my gran read it, and it gave her nightmares. So there was a sort of lot of mystique about this book. So it's finally back in print, and I read it recently, and it's really good. Not only is it set in Whitby, but it tells a lot of the theming in it is set around Whitby, like the stairs and stuff that's in the museum and things like that. So really, really fascinating if you know Whitby, and it's a proper good spooky story. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
And the book is The Whitby Witches by Robin Jarvis. Matt has recommended this one to me. Well, hopefully he's told you. And if not, Editing Amy will pop in now and tell you. We'll find out. So yeah, I'm not going to start this immediately. I've got another book I've just started because I also got that from the library. Oh, wait, start Yellowface. This one took 4 months. I reserved this 4 months ago. I'm fairly certain I'm not going to be able to renew it because there is a waiting list for it, so I want to read that one first. And then we're going to start The Whitby Witches. Although the point of this vlog was to tackle some of my TBR, I didn't have anything on my TBR that Matt was willing to recommend, or that he recognised, or that he'd already read, other than Dune, which I'd already read, so I don't know why that was on my TBR. But yeah, so we're going to go with The Whitby Witches. Soonish. next, as far as you guys are concerned. Anyways, I'm gonna go back and read. I'll see you in a bit. I have filmed up in this location, up in this room, beside my TBR so many times, and yet every time without fail, how do I set my camera up? How do I set my phone up here? How do I configure this? I don't know. Every time I'm like, I don't know how I did this last time. It's just how it is. But despite all of that, I have started The Whitby Witches by Robin Jarvis. It's the third book I'm going to read for this vlog, and I think the last book I'm going to read for this vlog. I have decided I'm going to make this like a little series, so we're just going to do Laura, Rachel and Matt for this video, and I've got a couple friend recommendations already lined up for another rendition of this one. Yeah, but The Whitby Witches by Robin Jarvis. This was Matt's recommendation. He's recommended this one to me a couple of times now. Mostly because we've both read Robin Jarvis and both enjoyed Robin Jarvis. But yeah, I'm gonna, like Rachel, I'm gonna ask him to film a little intro explaining why he recommends this book to me. And if he says he's happy to film it, I'll pop it here. And if not, Editing Amy will pop in. So, The Whitby Witches. As you can see from the bookmark, I am a little ways in. I am on page 52, chapter 3. And I have a few thoughts so far. It's definitely the book that's starting off the strongest in this vlog. I'm actually really excited about reading this one from what I've read so far. I did end up having to message both Matt and Rachel yesterday, being like, this is not historical. I don't know why, but I absolutely had it in my head that this was a historical fantasy. It's not. It's set in the 90s. Which is interesting because having now read 50 pages, every time something more contemporary is mentioned, I kind of get jarred out of it a little bit because my brain is convinced that this is set in the early 1900s, not the early 1990s. You know, at one point, I think it's on like page 10 or 11, one of the children leaves a can of lemonade on the train table, and I'm like, hold up a minute. Like, I'm fine with them being on a train, but lemonade? A can of lemonade? Oh yeah, this is not historical. I keep having to remind myself that it's not historical because it's reading very similar to a historical. But yeah, I think it's a combination of the cover and we're following two children, Ben and Janet, who are both orphans. And apparently in my brain, I associate orphans with fantasy and historical. Hence, I'm convinced this is a historical fantasy, and it's not. I could do a deep dive into that, and I might one day, because I feel like that definitely says something. You know, like, does my brain just not accept that orphans exist in the contemporary world? Unfortunately, they very much do. But, you know, how much... I mean, even just like thinking off the top of my brain right now, how many books do we come across where it's set contemporary and orphans? You know, we very much, like, orphans are a gateway. I think especially because a lot of the fantasy I read, especially like the fantasy I read growing up, when I was really getting into it, having a character orphaned, it's kind of like it's almost like one of the first steps to the chosen one, to creating a chosen one character, isn't it? So yeah, I think my brain very much associates orphans with epic and historical fantasy and not technology and very modern things like cans of lemonade. But there we have it. Anyway, what is The Whitby Witches about? Hopefully Matt's already told you. But so far we are following two orphans. Ben and Janet. They have been passed around a bit. Basically, their parents died a couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago, and they have been in multiple homes now. First, they went to live with an uncle, and that only lasted a few months, and they have been in and out of a children's home, and they're just not, there's just nowhere that they managed to settle. And that is because there's something not quite normal with Ben. Ben sees people. Ben, you know, he has these dreams and he'll tell you about them, and most people find him just a bit too unnerving to be around. So unfortunately, that has meant that every time they go to a new home, they can't give him back because no one has been quite willing to put the effort in. And that in itself is heartbreaking. So now, the story literally starts with them on the train heading to yet another new home. And they are now with Alice Boston, who is this very elderly old lady, but is very, very spry. Very much reads and acts as if she's in her sort of like 40s, 50s. Apparently she's in her 90s. But there's definitely more going on there. And yeah, they have arrived in Whitby and are just kind of settling in. It's still first days. Alice is very weird. She is not at all what they were expecting, and there is definitely more going on to this. I don't want to say too much more because spoilers, but we have referenced Bram Stoker already. We've referenced The Great Dog, which I think is sort of like the legend mythology that this is going to be following. But yeah, so far I'm actually really enjoying this. It is, of the 3 recommendations for this video, I think I already said this, it's the one that is starting off the strongest. It's the one that I'm the most excited about. Yeah. I mean, it's Robin Jarvis. He wrote The Deptford Mice. He is a brilliant author, so I am kind of going in this with raised expectations, and so far he's meeting them. I don't think it's going to take me too long to read this. It is technically middle grade, but it is chaptered. All middle grade is chaptered. Ignore whatever. So it is technically a children's book, but it is one of those children's books where anyone can read it. I'm really enjoying actually. Like 50 pages in and I'm only 2 chapters in. So many books these days, the chapters are really small. So I'm really enjoying that. This is like I think it's like 315 pages and it only has like 14 chapters. Like, I don't know, that just feels like an achievement in itself right now. It's nice. It's a nice difference. Just so many books where the chapters are only like 4 or 5 pages. That, yeah, having like a 20+ page chapter is actually really refreshing. But yeah, so far so good. I'm really, really enjoying this so far.
Ben turned the ammonite over in his fingers and stared intently at it. It was the same size as a 50p piece and charcoal in colour. Miss Boston told him it was incredibly old, older than the human race in fact. Ben held it tightly. It felt safe to touch something so ancient. There was so very little permanence in his turbulent life, and this small, time-polished fossil was like a magical talisman, a sign that perhaps things would be different from now on. That is so sweet. Like, is this book gonna make me cry? Matt, did you give me a book that's gonna make me cry? You know me too well. Hey, it's time to wrap this vlog up, don't you think? It has dragged out and gone on long enough. I started this literally months ago. Yeah, so let's do this. Ignore these. These don't exist. You'll see these in another vlog. Whether it's before or after this one, I honestly don't know. I'm wrapping up 3 vlogs tonight. 3! Guys, what is wrong with me? What is actually wrong with me? But yes. The Whitby Witches by Robin Jarvis. I finished this! Finally! It took so long!
I actually finished this when I was on holiday in McTown. My first evening I was there, I very deliberately took no other books with me except this, knowing that I was going to be buying books the following days, but it meant that on Monday evening I had nothing else to do but read. So that was nice. I think I still had, I read about half of the book, give or take. I can't actually remember how far along into this I was when I last spoke to you guys. But yeah, thoughts overall now that I finished it. I liked it. Of the 3 books that we attempted, at least, because one of them I DNF'd, I think, for this vlog, this has definitely been my favourite one. It has reminded me how much I love Robin Jarvis's writing. He's not quite a 5-star. I'm even hesitant to give it 4. Because, so here's the thing, as much as I was enjoying this, whenever I put it down, it was really easy not to pick it back up. Hence why I'm fairly certain I started this vlog in July. It's the 27th of October today. It has taken me a very long time. I must appreciate that like 3 July, August, September, October, like 3.5 months. Obviously, it was not all spent on this. A good portion of that was spent on Mary Poppins and very briefly on, I can't remember the name of the first book off the top of my head. That is terrible. It's still taken long enough. I could be generous and say that part of it is down to the fact that I essentially gave myself a TBR, and I don't do TBRs. But I also think part of it just wasn't, it just didn't have that, it's really hard to describe it. It was missing that certain something that really grabbed me. I think part of it is I didn't really get to spend enough time with any particular character. It starts with a huge focus on the children, but sort of halfway through the book we kind of shift a little bit, and we spend a lot more time with Miss Boston, and Alice. And I was really enjoying her perspective, but it got to the point where we switched back to Ben at one point and I'd kind of forgotten what he was doing. I really liked the mystery of what was happening with Aunt Alice and, oh gosh, what was the Mrs. Cooper? Miss Cooper? Mrs. Cooper. I liked that tension and that mystery, and I wanted to explore a bit more there and sort of like have it happen there. It kind of felt a little bit like Robin Jarvis had a couple of different angles at which he was trying out, and I don't know, in terms of like telling the story and what angle he wanted to tell it from, and I think at one point he couldn't quite make up his mind, so told them from a couple. To the kind of to its detriment. I think, yeah, if we'd either had the focus on Aunt Alice or the focus on Ben and the Outfaders, which are sort of like a mythical creature that he encounters and has to help, like there's a prophecy involved. I feel like if we'd really focused on that as well, instead of trying to split our focus to the point that Janet kind of got sidelined and almost, I feel like she was surplus to the story. By the end, I was like, what was the point of her being here? And that really makes me sad. But despite all of that, I did really enjoy all of the characters. I absolutely fell in love with the children. I wanted more. I wanted more from all of them. You know, I've just said that we should have just like focused in on like one angle, but it's like I wanted more from all of them. Yeah. I wanted this book, I think, I don't know, I'd be curious like if this book was written as an adult fantasy. Make it historical, because even by the end I was reading it, I kept having to remind my brain that this was contemporary.
because every so often someone would come up and I'd be like, whoa, 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 wait, what? That doesn't make sense in historical context. Oh wait, this is not historical, because it does still also very much read like it's a historical. Yeah. Sorry, this is super rambly. I think I'm disappointed. I wanted to love this book more than I did. I did still really enjoy it. I do need to emphasize that I did still really enjoy this book. And it was great, like, when I picked it up and was reading it, I was reading it no problem. I just wanted to love it more. But with that said, we are now at the end of the vlog. I've read all 3 books. I didn't make it a competition, but if it was, Matt still won. For the most part, I haven't had like a huge amount of recommendations from Matt, but the ones he does I generally get on with quite well with. So, you know, should never doubt his recommendations. Mary Poppins was a really lovely read, definitely of its time. And yeah, I just kind of wanted a bit more substance from it. And unfortunately I can see the cover in my head for Laura's pick. Oh, it's gonna annoy me. I'm sorry, guys. But I'll put a picture up here. Laura's pick. I fully anticipated to absolutely love it and fly through it. I just, unfortunately, I really didn't get on with the character. She really annoyed me. So that was unfortunate DNF, but I feel like if it had been any other character, that book probably would have won. Maybe. But yeah, despite how much I have dragged this out and how long it has taken, and yeah, there's definitely been ups and downs with the books that I've been reading. I have really, really enjoyed this. I'm absolutely going to do another take on this. I don't know which books I'm going to do yet, but I've got the friends lined up. It will not be the same ones. But yeah, let me know what you thought. Did you like this? Did this work? It is an absolute mess of a vlog, I will be fully honest with you guys, but despite that, we had fun. And yeah, on that note, I will chat to you guys in the next one. Bye!